welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and this is definitely going to be the finale. We'll see if we can survive, or if we're torn to shreds by the intruder, or potentially Nemesis explodes on us before we even get a chance to get off of it. There's so many different things that could potentially happen. We could also potentially get in the escape pod and be contaminated and die in the escape pod, thinking we are getting away scot-free. Who knows how this is going to end, but I'm really excited to find out. So we're going to start things off with the first player for this upcoming player phase. That is going to be the bounty hunter. The first thing the bounty hunter is going to do is decide whether or not I want to use Leica at this point in time. Being that it's the beginning of his player phase, I can choose to have Leica head out, and I was thinking about it originally because remember, the dog is a character. It goes into an actual room when it moves. It can explore that room. Everything flips over. Sounds like a good idea, but then it rolls for noise, and that's where it's a little risky here, because if I was to send Leica from here down to this one here, you can see that the corridor number 4 could potentially trigger. Also, the technical corridor red could trigger. It's a 50-50 shot there, and the odds are not exactly like that, because of course we got the silence and the danger and everything else on the die, but it's not necessarily the greatest odds overall. So I'm probably not going to send Leica out this time. I think I'll just move my bounty hunter in a careful manner, because if I do that, I can move him from here to here and place the noise here, and then we can later get back here and place the noise behind us. If we do a whole bunch of careful movement, we can make sure we don't alert anything. So because I have a really cool gun that allows me to re-roll automatically, I don't necessarily need to hold on to the taking aim card, and tactical move is great when there's an intruder in your room. Gives you some options, but neither of these apply or will be useful for me. Might as well spend them to careful move. Wow, this is getting seriously stressful. This is the last malfunction marker that I have to place right now, so I can safely do this, but the next one that gets revealed could potentially take the ship down. That's really bad. We could flat out lose just from the ship exploding. So we've got 4 searchable items in this room. That is a whole bunch. It's the generator room, and if you're not familiar with what that is, it's all about the self-destruct sequence. You can actually initiate it or you can stop it, but again, the room's malfunctioning, so I can't do too much there. Again, I move there carefully. I can choose where to place the noise, so I'll place it right here. My character's in this room, and now I really probably need to focus on fixing that room to ensure we don't get another malfunction token in another room when we move into it that could cause this whole ship to go. That is just, I'm just a little bit tense. For my second action, I'm going to rest, which allows me to scan all the contamination cards in my hand and remove not infected cards. If any of the cards are infected, we follow the infection procedure. I do have 1 contamination card in my hand. I'm really curious to see if it's actually going to be an infection. Bad news indeed. As you can see on the 4th line there, infected is there. So we are going to be following the infection procedure. So the bounty hunter knows that he is infected and will be placing a larva on his character board. Now this is really bad, because if another larva shows up on the game board and attacks, and I've already got a larva on my character board, I die, and that's obviously bad. Also, if I happen to get another contamination card and I check it and I get another larva, I also die. It's important to know that even though we rested and found out that this contamination was an infection, we placed a larva on my character board, this card does not leave my hand. I still keep this card. Now if there's another game terminology that states I remove a contamination, then I can get rid of this card, but currently this thing sticks on me. And there's also something vicious about this whole situation when it comes to the victory check at the end of the game. After an engines check, of course, if Nemesis is still actually functioning, a coordinates check in terms of where the cockpit has the ship heading, next you do a contamination check, and there's really 2 situations here, and you're doing this check whether you're in hibernation or you're in the escape pod, but the player scans all their contamination cards in their action deck, discard, and hand. So as you can see right now, if I scanned it, I would have an infected card still, and then at that point, if there's at least 1 infected card, the player shuffles all their cards, both action and contamination, to create a new action deck, draws the top 4 cards, and if there's at least 1 contamination card, infected or not, the character dies. So basically, it just really puts a kind of you into a situation where the likelihood of you actually dying from this contamination is fairly high. Like, it's almost like a 50-50 chance with probably 1 in there in the deck, maybe a little less than that, but as soon as you start getting 2 or 3, it doesn't matter whether the contamination cards actually have the word infected on it at that point. You're just drawing up 4 cards and praying you don't see a contamination card. Again, this is all done in the victory check at the end of the game, but this is another reason why it's really important to get these cards out of your hand. And obviously right now I need to focus on potentially getting this larva off my character board as well. All right, so the medic is in a sticky situation. Remember, we have too many malfunction markers on the table. Kind of in a sad state here. We do have 1 card on the medic that would help fix one of these malfunction tokens, but I can't do it while there is an intruder in my room, and I also just don't want to be there because the medic doesn't have anything besides just a melee attack against this thing, and melee attacks typically result in you getting hurt pretty badly. So if that's the case, I might as well try to escape here, as my focus is not to kill this thing but hope it goes away. Doesn't always work out like that. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and try and escape first, and what we do is we gotta pay to do that movement to escape. So I'll go ahead and burn a search card. I don't plan on searching anything in the near future in order to escape, and what we do now is pull our intruder attack card and see whether we get hit by this adult. I'm really hoping we do not. Oh, we got lucky. Okay, so we're okay there. We do not get hit by the attack, and we're out of there. Thank goodness. So we're now moving over here to this location, and now that we're in here, we do have to roll for noise. So we'll go ahead and roll for noise and see where this lands. There's really only 2 spots. It's here or on the opposite side. Kind of hoping it's behind me. Let's see. 3, it worked out. Perfect. So it's behind us. Good. Don't want to see it on the other side. So that is nice. Okay, so we are there. That was 1. Now, the question becomes, do I care where Nemesis is going? Not necessarily, and that's probably because I don't have any idea how the engines are doing. And that also goes back to the fact we only have 1 more level 2 tile. It could be the engine control room, which would allow me to basically remotely check the engines. But the chances of that happening are slim now, very slim, because there's quite a few of those number 2 tiles still in the box, and there's only 1 on the board. And I didn't use the Nemesis plans from the Bounty Hunter yet to check it. And I'm gonna run into it anyway with the medic in the near future. And some of you might be thinking, hey, why don't you use your second action and book it to the next room? Like, get as close to that escape pod as possible. The danger in that is that, again, all the malfunction markers I have available are on Nemesis. If I reveal that tile and there is a malfunction there, the ship is going to explode. So yes, I'd love to get 2 spaces away from this intruder, but I can't risk the whole ship blowing up because of it. It's pretty tense at this point. And honestly, in terms of what I want to do here, I don't want to move. I can't shoot. I can't attack with my hands. Nothing to pick up, nothing to trade, nothing to craft. And again, unless I want to check the coordinates, that's the only thing I really can do. So I guess I do have 3 cards in hand. 1 is for discarding a malfunction marker, so that's kind of like, kind of want to hold on to that, but I'm not too sure if I need to. If I get the Bounty Hunter to do it on the next turn, he might get that card on the next turn. It should be in his deck somewhere. Then he can deal with the generator, and that would give me the 1 malfunction token that I need to kind of continue on safely. But we still have an exploration token in the evacuation section A that could potentially be a malfunction as well. So there's that stress. Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Oh, and we always have the event deck that could throw in a curveball at us too. So tough to make these decisions, but it doesn't make sense for me to run into that room. I should probably, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to the repairs card, and I'm going to go ahead and let's actually check the coordinates here. So I'm going to use Demolition and Pharmacist, these 2 cards right here, to discard and take the room action of the cockpit, and we'll take a look. And for those that are unaware as to the 2 things you can do if you pay 2 cards in the cockpit, one is to check the coordinates card simply by picking it up and looking at it. And of course, you're going to want to compare it to where the destination marker is set to, which is currently Nemesis is going to B, but I have no idea what B is, so I want to check the card. That's what I'm paying for right now. But if I'm in the cockpit, I can also pay 2 and go ahead and change the destination marker. But each of those things are separate and cost 2 each. You can do either of them in the room, but you gotta have the cards to pay for them. All right, so let's go ahead and see what this coordinates card has us heading towards currently. B is Mars. So currently this is not going where we want it to go. So where do we want it to go? We want it to go to Earth. So Earth would be C, but again, if I don't care about the ship and its survival and the fact that I'm planning on not going to the hibernatorium, if I'm in an escape pod and I'm gone, it doesn't necessarily matter to me. So I think it's nice to know where the ship is going, just to show you guys kind of how that worked. I didn't necessarily need to do that, but I kind of wanted to show you. But my plan still is to get in the escape pod and get out of here. So let's just leave the coordinates the way they are. I currently only have one card left, two cards left in my hand, I should say. One's to the repair card and one's a contamination. So at this point, I'm going to pass. The bounty hunter is also going to pass, and I'm going to choose to discard my Go Girl card because I want the odds of me finding the card that will let me fix the malfunction token. I want those odds to be higher for me when I go to draw up at the beginning of the next player phase. So this Go Girl card is going to go away, and I know that I'm not worrying about any kind of sneak attacks or anything like that anyway, so I'll remove that card. I got one contamination card in hand, and now we can move to the event phase. This game really is coming down to the wire. It's pretty incredible. So no intruder attack, no fire damage to deal with. We're resolving an event card. Let's find out what we get. Oh, this is really, really bad. Okay, so first off, you'll note at the very top that the adults are not moving. So that's okay. I'm all right with that. Everything else would be moving if there was stuff on the board down corridor 1, but nothing's happening here. But the second part of this is brutal. You can see here it states each character with a larva on their character board dies. Place a creeper in their room. This is terrible. Every character draws 4 cards from their deck and scans all drawn contamination cards. If they have at least one infected card, put a larva on their character board and then discard the drawn cards. Oh my gosh, this just threw a massive change into my strategy. So unfortunately, due to the larva which is on the bounty hunter's board, which was obviously a very bad decision to scan and determine whether we were infected, placing the larva there in the first place, I basically set him up to die by checking that. That's really unfortunate. But again, remember, I was trying to do something else with him as he was at the generator room and I didn't have the ability to repair, so I thought I was making good use of my time and hopefully clearing up my hand was my goal, not to see this character die. But that is the game of Nemesis. That was not what I expected to happen. That was a crazy turn of events. Now we've got Creeper just running around inside the generator room thanks to the death of the bounty hunter, next to the shower room, which is connected to a space that we need to get to the evacuation section, to then get into the escape pod. We've got intruders kind of popping up all around us now. The medic is literally completely alone. Now we need to resolve the second half of this card. So not only did the bounty hunter just flat out die, every character now draws 4 cards from their deck and scans all drawn contamination cards. If they have at least one infected card, we get a larva on that character. So let's go ahead and draw 4 cards and see if we see a contamination card come up. Oh my gosh. The top card? Are you serious? That's brutal. Okay, we'll keep going because we got to draw all 4. Ugh, man, I know I have one in hand, so I'm pretty sure that was the only one. Oh my goodness, what are the chances of that? This is insane. There we go. It doesn't say infected, so we are okay. So no larva is placed on the medic. That is huge. The 4 cards that we just drew are all discarded though, so they're gonna all go in my discard pile. I guess that's a good thing in a way because it gets a contamination card back into that pile. That is going to be it for this event. That was absolutely brutal. Not out of the woods yet. We still have to go to the intruder bag here to see what we get from the tokens. Pulled one out and look what we got. A blank. Something nice happened. When you draw a blank token, all you do is put the blank token back inside the bag along with an adult token. This is really, really stressful now because I now don't have as much control over these malfunction tokens that are on the board, and I'm not in a space to actually get rid of one. Plus I need to move into a room that's unexplored in the next phase, and oh my gosh, this is just bad all the way around. This could be the end. We'll have to see, but I got 2 cards in hand, so let's go ahead and draw up the other 3. Got an interruption, computer skills, and finally rest. I'm going to go ahead for my first action and discard interruption and computer skills in order to do a careful move to the other tile. Yes, I'm putting this all on the line here. If we see a malfunction marker, the entire ship explodes. We are okay. We have revealed one of the last 2 exploration tokens, and of course, if we see a malfunction marker show up on either of those, we're in big trouble. What did happen is this engine control room actually showed up. So the one tile I was talking about that I needed to check to see if the engines that I didn't check, which was engine number 2 and 3, were in working order, I can do that from this computer now. So again, in a game where I was actually trying to keep this ship alive and I didn't want to jump into the pod and escape, then you know, that would be an option. But again, I have to explore all the rooms as part of my objective, so I am forced to go into that evacuation section A room, even if I don't want to. You might be thinking, why are you doing that? Well, in order to complete my objective, I need to have all those tokens explored to even win. So that's the kind of stressor there. So I'm in that room. There is 2 searchable objects inside of that room. It's a yellow room, so we'll go ahead and just rotate this around. You'll also notice there's a door token there. So we're going to go ahead and tip this over to the red arrow on the opposite side like this. We'll place our character inside. The door right here is going to close. I guess in a way this is actually a good thing because it's kind of sealing off that intruder from coming around to me and will prevent it from moving as quickly. They can always still get through doors, but it does take them an extra turn to kind of break through it. But we still have a creeper on the other side here within 1 away from me because I am planning to do a careful move into that shower room. I don't want to risk pulling an intruder showing up in the shower room based on the corridor number 4 having noise. So I'll go ahead and spend my 2 action cards, the last ones I can spend because now I only have a contamination in my hand, to just go ahead and move to that shower room. The medic's in the shower room, and oh man, I put the noise behind me. This is what's going to be interesting. How is this next event phase going to pan out? The last one was absolutely brutal, but at this point, I'm the only character going as the medic, so I'm done. I only have a contamination card here, so I'm going to pass, and we're going to go right into that event phase, and really, this is where things could go sideways. Time is continuing to tick towards the end. No intruder attack, no fire damage, but we have to check that event. This is what's going to terrify me. Come on, please don't be too bad. Okay, this is not good. Oh, we got so lucky. Okay, so this is we do have a creeper on here and an adult, so both of the intruders on the board are going to move, and they're going to move along 3. Oh, this is wild. Ironically, it's called the Scent of Prey, and that's exactly what this intruder did. The adult one went down corridor number 3 into this room, so I'm so glad that door is there now. And even better, this creeper did not come down corridor number 2. It went down 3 into the hibernatorium where there's some fire. Oh, safe. Safe for now. Let's read the bottom of Scent of Prey now and find out what else happens. Place a noise marker in every corridor connected to a room containing a character with a slime marker, except corridors that already have noise markers. This is a great one to get because the medic is not slimed. Remember, though, the bounty hunter was, but the bounty hunter is no more. Now let's do our intruder bag development and see what we get. A blank. We got another blank. Wow. That was extremely lucky because, again, remember, we have to roll for noise if we get the adult, and another adult actually goes in because of the blank token we got, so the odds of us getting that in the future are going up, and I'm really glad that didn't result in a noise roll right now because, well, geez, we would have had it would have been pretty bad. The medic has 1 contamination card in hand, stuffing her hand up, but all of her cards are in the discard pile, so we have to shuffle that whole thing, and then we'll grab 4 more. Cards are all shuffled. Next card out of the hand, we got Demolition. We have... oh no, 2 contamination cards in hand. That's brutal. That's going to slow me down. So now I might have to, because of these have come back around, or that 1 contamination card came back around in my hand, I might need to start using that surgery kit to get rid of this stuff, or at least try to help with it. Interruption, and finally, Search. Now this is such a hard decision. The surgery kit is something you need to do at the end of your turn because you're going to have to go ahead, discard your hand, and suffer a light wound. So I want to do it at the very end of my turn when I decide to do it. And again, it's going to help me remove cards that are labeled as infected. I know one of the medic's cards isn't labeled as infected, but if there is one that is infected, I don't want to get into the escape pod and then have to deal with that. So what we're going to do, oh man, this is so crazy. So many different things could happen here. Plus, of course, we get the malfunction situation. Like, I am terrified I'm going to go into that evacuation section A and flip over a malfunction and just have the whole thing explode at the last possible moment. I was trying to look around for other rooms that I could fix, and everything is so far away. I could technically get to the generator room, but then that puts me in a space where not only is there one red technical corridor connected to it with a noise marker in it, there's also 2 corridors with noise in it. So if I'd move in there, I'd be placing noise, even if I did careful movement, right in the hallway behind me. Like, I'm just setting myself up for something to pop up and cause me a lot of grief that the medic can't really handle, plus more hits, which would not be good, all to try and get rid of a malfunction token when I don't even have a card in hand yet to deal with one. So I'd be hoping that I find it. The other thing I do have at my disposal is a spacesuit, which would allow me to go ahead. It says if you are in a yellow room, which I'm in a multicolored room right now, so I could use it, discard all your action cards. So again, you're burning your whole turn, which is dangerous, and move your character to any other yellow room. So I could quickly move to the generator room. If I go ahead and move to the generator room, I'm still moving. So this is really not a great card to use right now, because first off, you got to pay a card plus this item just to go over there, and you still have to roll for noise and everything. It's still considered a move. It even has a capital M, so you don't get away from rolling for noise. The real use of that spacesuit is to be able to kind of like move around the board in a bigger fashion, like get from one end of the board to the other very fast. So you know, it's more about covering distance, I should say, than it being fast. It's not really going to help me to move there and then be hoping that in the last couple rounds of the game I hope to get the one to discard the malfunction marker, but it's just as silly in a way to go to the evacuation section and cross my fingers that I don't pull a malfunction token. But I'm also, if I go to the generator room, the creeper is 1 step away from me, and if the creeper gets on top of me, that's another whole issue I got to deal with. So it's like I'm right there at the gate. I think I need to risk it and just go into the evacuation section A, even though my gut is telling me this could be the worst decision I've ever made. I think I'm going to do it. So now that I've rationalized it in a terrible way, I'm going to go ahead and spend some cards. So what card do I want to have left in my hand? Well, you know, first off, interruption is useless to me, so I'll definitely be spending that. Demolition allows me to destroy a closed door in a corridor connected to a room you're in. That doesn't matter. And yeah, so demolition and interruption seem to be the ones that I want to ditch. I'll keep my search card in case I happen to go in the room and there's something worth searching in there. I mean, maybe. I don't know if I'll need it. So these 2 cards are going to get tossed. And remember, I've got 2 contamination cards in my hand as well. So I have 3 left, but 2 of them are useless. That is going to be a careful move. Let's head into the evacuation section A and see what that token has for us. Yes, I have never been so happy to see fire in all of my life. So we got ourselves a 2 and a fire, so I can search twice in there if I so choose, but that's not going to be my prime motive. So as of right now, just so you know, the second I walked in here, not only of course is there fire in here now, which is fun, but the next thing to note is the fact that I have now completed my objective. I have now explored every single room tile on the ship. So my second objective, this one right here, No Man Left Behind, which had the signal being sent, which I did. Ironically, it was the medic that sent it and is the only one that's still surviving, but it doesn't matter. Either character could have done it to complete that. And all rooms on the ship must be explored. So we are now done both objectives, so we are definitely ready to get in this escape pod and get out of here. I've also gone ahead and placed a noise marker where I wanted it to go based on me moving carefully. So I placed it right here. And next I am going to go ahead and use my last card, because I need 2 cards to actually attempt to get into the pod, and I don't have that right now. So I need my last card to actually go ahead with the surgery kit. I'm going to be smart about this and try to deal with any potential infected situations that I have going on. I have to spend 1 additional card to use it. I will zoom in on this so you guys can actually see it. It states to choose any 1 character in the room you're in, that includes yourself. Scan all contamination cards in their deck, discard, and hands, that's literally everywhere, and remove all infected cards and larvae if there's one. Then this character shuffles their deck, discard, and hand, and suffers a light wound. First card being scanned here is not infected. Now this might have been the one that we checked earlier. We'll have to see what the second one is. Look at that, we don't have any infections. Both contamination cards do not have the words infected on them. So basically, because none of those contamination cards had the words infected on them, everything just gets shuffled together and back into my action cards deck. This card is obviously one-time use, so it is now gone. The other thing that happens is I suffer a light wound. So I go from 1 light wound to 2 light wounds, and guess what? I've got another light wound coming to me. You want to know why? Because every time you end one of your 2 actions or turns inside of a room with fire, you take a light wound. So yes, I will be taking now a serious wound because my 2 light wounds turns into a serious wound card. I just can't catch a break here, so hopefully it's not too bad. So a serious wound card is coming my way. Let's go ahead and pull it off the top of the deck. What do we get? Body. I don't like that. You draw up to 4 action cards instead of 5. Ouch. Time track is moving from 3 down to 2 as time is getting very close to the end of this track. No intruder attacks to deal with, but there is going to be fire damage. This fire damage from the event phase only affects intruders. So we have a creeper in the hibernatorium, so 1 fire damage from that, but because there's a vulnerability to fire, it takes 2. We're gonna go ahead to intruder attack card to see if it's killed off. What do we get? No, we got a 4. It is still kicking. This is the single worst card I could have ever pulled from the deck, and you'll see why in a second, but you're probably already reading the bottom. At the very top, creepers are gonna activate as well as adults are gonna move along the 1 corridor path. So the adult intruder here is going to smash up against that door, removing it, but it will stay here, and the creeper is going to walk through here to the command center. So the door here has been broken open, and one thing that's really cool about the Nemesis Lockdown Kickstarter is they're going to have miniature doors that are actually half broken, so that when you actually have an intruder break a door down, instead of laying down a miniature door like this, or laying down the standee, you actually have a miniature that stands upright but is broken in half. Literally, there's nothing on the top half of it, so you definitely know that the thing basically broke through the top half of the door and jumped right over top, so that's pretty cool. So that door has been destroyed, and it also signifies the fact I couldn't close it if I wanted to anyway, because the door's been just messed up pretty good. We got the creeper over here in the command center as well, so that's quite a bit of fun. And now to check out the absolutely devastating second half of this card called Damaging Fire. This was a terrible card to pull off the event deck, and I cannot believe that this came down to the wire like it did. It says place a malfunction marker in each room with fire, or each room with a fire marker, and ironically I'm standing in the evacuation section number A with the medic, and there is in fact a fire marker in the room I'm in, as you guys are well aware of. And because I can't place the malfunction marker that I need to in this evacuation section number A, the hull of Nemesis loses its integrity and the entire ship explodes. You can also see that if the ship hadn't have exploded, there's still more bad things coming with this event. It says to place a fire marker in each room neighboring a room with a fire marker, so that would have actually push the fire in so many different areas. And then it states here, fire does not spread through closed doors or technical corridors. But let me just show you how much fire would actually be on the ship. So we have a fire marker in evacuation section A, 1 in the hibernatorium, and 1 down here in the nest. And by placing a fire marker in each room neighboring a room with a fire marker, this would have done me in as well, because as of right now I've placed fire markers in all the connecting rooms from those 3, and I still don't have enough fire markers to place one in surgery as well as the fire control system. So either way, with the malfunctions going on, not only did the ship lose its hull integrity, the whole thing just burned up into a ball of flames. And that's going to conclude the playthrough for a Nemesis in the most brutal way, but honestly, the most expected way possible. This is exactly what this game will do to you. You will be right down to the wire. And this just really shows how well this game is designed in terms of its challenge, because even when you've mitigated as much as I had to this point, and I was literally 1 single action away from getting in the escape pod, although, just so you guys understand what's involved with that, on the upcoming next player phase, again, I would have had to deal with an intruder bag development step before I got to that first, but of course the whole ship was consumed by flames and imploded on itself. Regardless of all that, if I had got the cards in my hand and it was my player phase, I would have tried to jump into the escape pod, which is currently unlocked. I had all my objectives set. I knew I didn't have any infections whatsoever in my deck, thanks to checking with the item that I just used, a surgery kit, to check to make sure that everything was okay. So I know I would have survived in one, ironically, but it does state inside the rulebook how escape pods work. So it says, if a given escape pod is unlocked, a character may enter it performing a noise roll first. So before you even get into it, you perform a noise roll. And I do have a chance there. You can see if I landed a 1, that would actually trigger an intruder there. And what's even more brutal is you'll also notice way up there is a red dot with a 2 and a 3 beside it, meaning we have, you can see in the red technical corridor, a red noise or a noise marker in there as well. So really the odds of us pulling an intruder in that space are actually really, really high. So an intruder would have likely shown up there anyway, caused me all kinds of grief, and you can't get into an escape pod unless there are no intruders in that space and there's no malfunctioning going on in that room. Plus, of course, you have to do that noise roll to get in the first place, and that noise roll is going to get you in some of those cases. So this one certainly would have been a problem. Now you can see if I had chosen to go to this evacuation section B, which is actually where I don't have a noise token for 2 technical corridors, 1 and 2, this would have been a better option. But remember, the escape pod jettisoned off this one earlier in the game, so I didn't have that option. Now let's say hypothetically I had got the cards, which I would have for sure had if I started a player phase. I jump in there, but before I do, I make my noise roll. I get super lucky. Maybe I get a silence, or maybe I get a 4 or something like that, which is the blue technical corridor. I managed to get in the escape pod. You can choose to launch immediately. So it does state to remove the miniature of your character and the escape pod token from the game, and then from now on you do not take part in the game any longer, because now you're going to be doing your victory point checks. And honestly, if you're playing solo or cooperative mode, you're going to be doing those checks right away to see whether you won. And I already know I'm good contamination wise, so that would have won me the game. So that's literally how close this really was. But if you're playing with other characters or other people around the table, I should say, you can wait, and you can actually get in there and you can sit there and wait for someone else to get the escape pod to come out with you. You can also jettison before, like I said, immediately. That's another whole thing. Or you can even step back out of the escape pod and back into the room. But all of that does not matter when you're dead. And that's exactly what happened here. I died. But you know what? No matter how many times I've played Nemesis and no matter how many times I've died playing Nemesis, I enjoy the experience every single time. And it makes it so that when you finally escape and you're finally not contaminated to the point of being infected, and you make it past the victory point checks and you have your objectives done, when you get that win, it is one of the most satisfying board game wins you can possibly get, just based on the odds of this thing coming after you. So anyway, I really hope that this whole showcase on Nemesis gives you a great understanding of the ins and outs of the rules and how the game flows and plays. Thank you guys so much for catching my goofs along the way. Of course, there's a lot to keep track of, a lot. You can see here the amount of noise tokens on the ship now. I mean, I was being completely swarmed, but we did our best to try to get through here, and we were so close. But anyways, long story short, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.